Come see us on tour in Dallas, Texas, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only there.
The first of the Trump nominees went before the firing squad, Mr. Hegseth. It was quite a rambunctious hearing. We're going to show a few clips from it, but just an overview here from the AP. I want to point out before I even read this, so I looked at 3 different articles and settled on this one. Even though there was quite a bit of back and forth about Israel, none of them mentioned that. None of them talk about it. Every article I looked at wants to talk about the sexual questions and DEI. Not a word about that.
Well, same thing. Pam Bondi had her hearings today. I've seen countless clips of Democrats barking at her about the 2020 election denial and stuff like that. Not a single one of her saying she wants to sick the FBI on pro-Palestine protesters.
Of course not. From either party, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth, President-elect Donald Trump's pick for defense secretary, publicly faced senators for the first time after weeks of questions from Democrats and praise from Republicans about his unconventional resume. Hegseth, a combat veteran and former TV news host, says he will be a change agent and a warrior as Republicans demand new and strong leadership at the Pentagon. Democrats say Hegseth's lack of experience running a huge department, his past comments about women and black troops, and allegations of excessive drinking and sexual misconduct make him unfit to serve. Senate Armed Services Committee Chairman Senator Roger Wicker, Republican of Mississippi, called Hegseth's nomination unconventional, but compared him to Trump, saying that may be just what makes him an excellent choice. Rhode Island Senator Jack Reed, the committee's top Democrat, said Hegseth lacks, quote, the character and the competence to lead the Yes.
So really, he lacks confidence.
Well, come on. I mean, say what you will about the Sullivan-Lloyd team. They were on top of it. If your objective is to bring us to the brink of World War III and cost hundreds of thousands of lives, destroy families, light the world on fire, those guys were a crackerjack team.
Okay. I mean, he's no heck of a job brownie.
Yeah. Heck of a job. Heck of a job. Generation of Ukrainian men wiped out. He lacks the character and the competence to lead the Defense Department. Reed said he has voted to confirm the 9 previous defense secretaries, including in Trump's first term, but will not support Hegseth. Now, look, I've got critiques of Hegseth. I think he's a Zionist maniac. But that's not the issue these people have. That's not their issue. Their issue, the fact that you approved the previous 9, that's not something I would brag about.
Right.
Like, what's the issue with him? You thought Lloyd Austin was a good idea, so this guy should just sail right through that. But obviously their issues are not the real issues. Reed said he wants Hegseth to explain why DEI efforts make the military weak and, quote, how you propose to undo that without undermining military leadership and harming readiness, recruitment, and retention. Hegseth said the military was, hey, look, I believe we actually did a piece about the 2 mommies ad that they did for military recruitment.
Yes.
And it's funny how all these things run in parallel. It's very much like how they tried to turn all these action franchises into girl brands.
Yes.
Girls aren't into that. I'm sorry. Yeah, the guy who's going to go and hump gear in the middle of the desert, it's generally not the liberal girl with 2 moms. There are exceptions where that person can be used in the military. They should be welcome. But to focus your recruiting on that is insane. That's just not the type of person that joins the military. It just fucking isn't. It doesn't matter what you do to try to promote that to that audience. They're not interested. Most of them.
If there's anything this election cycle taught us, is that women should not be in the Secret Service.
Yeah.
There's a place.
Hey, look, man.
There's a reason why 95% of bricklayers are men. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sewer workers are men.
Right. And they always want to point out outliers. And sure, there are outliers, man.
Right.
When I was in college, when I was learning, I wanted to know how to do set design. Because I knew I was going to wind up doing my own stuff. So the woman that taught me technical drawing and drafting, that woman was built like Mean Joe Green. Like, she was enormous, man. Like, yeah, I bet she could have been a firefighter. That's a rare case. It's a very rare case. It's not the way to bet. Yes, if that woman wanted to join the military and could pass all the tests, sure. Right. And there are places in the military that are not as physically demanding. Doug McGregor, we had him on the other day. He said women make better pilots. He said they have better hand-eye coordination. So, okay.
Really?
That's what he said. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's not talking about Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
No. No, he actually brought up, he geeked out a little bit. He brought up Starship Troopers. And he said they were right, because if you looked at where the women were positioned in the military in that movie, they were the pilots. And that's actually accurate, because they make better pilots than men. They have better hand-eye coordination. That's what he said. Hegseth said the military was a forerunner in courageous racial integration in ways no other institutions were willing to do, but argued that modern diversity and inclusion policies divide troops and didn't prioritize meritocracy. I would not disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean that's all. I mean,
I mean the military was very trailblazing.
Yes,
in that way for its time.
But I think they still pushed meritocracy, and you don't have to lower your standards to include people in marginalized communities. You don't have to do that. And
it's an inherent.
Go ahead.
DEI is inherently divisive, and that's its intention.
Yes,
that's its intention.
Exactly
it's
right.
a big grift. It's not about advancing those groups. We had a model for that.
When Trump was confronted at the Black Journalists of America thing, when he was questioned about, hey, why do you call Kamala Harris a DEI hire? And what he should have said back was, do you have a problem with people being DEI hires? And if you do, if you don't, why do you see that as an insult?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point.
You guys support it, right? You support DEI and DEI hires. Are you saying DEI hires are inherently not as good as? So that's what he should have said. He should have turned it right back on them. But everybody knows that DEI hires you're lowering the standards to do that. You don't have to lower standards to include minorities in your projects.
Hey, I was being polite. Willie told me she could suck the chrome off a trailer hitch. I was being nice. Hegseth made overtures to women and black troops in an attempt to blunt some of the criticism of his previous comments that women should straight up not serve in combat, and his suggestions that some black troops may not be qualified. Now, I don't know the quote in question regarding that. As far as women serving in combat, I and this seems to be what he says. If you can pass the tests, okay, but there shouldn't be any. Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. If you can pass the test, sure, go ahead.
That's it. You don't lower the standards, I don't have any problem. The reason why I always thought they didn't have women serve in combat roles was because then they made them extra vulnerable to being prisoners of war, and they could be raped and things like that.
There's that, and there is. I haven't had the time to delve into it. There have been some articles floating around in response to this hearings, citing studies saying that all same-sex units perform better. I can't comment. I haven't delved into it. I could see how it could be distracting to have women and men serving in combat units and intimate situations. You can't have and quarters.
You need a certain kind of warrior, right? And they're gonna be rough around the edges. You can't have a bunch of fucking Phil Donahues fighting your wars for you.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's, you look at a lot of what the liberal vision is. We actually had it in our top 10 like worst propaganda of the year. The guys for Harris commercial that they did.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a man. I'm a man. They tried to sell that. I mean, Tim Waltz. This is a different kind of masculinity. This is a different kind of cool guy. You're not selling that. You're not selling that. You're selling that to some very castrated, low T guys. You're not selling that to most guys, and frankly, you're not selling that to most women, man. I used to, when Mad About You was on, I used to say, yeah, in real life, she'd be fucking the mechanic. Okay.
I don't know why all these groups are itching to join as combat veterans anyway. Like, I don't understand it. Like, to me, it's like if I were gay and they said, well, gay people aren't allowed in the military, I'd be like, all right, well, that's fine. Too bad.
They dodged the bullet.
It really sucks. Really sucks that I can't. I would like to go and get my arms blown off for no reason, but I guess you just won't allow me to. That's a pity.
All right. So where were we?
Excess with question.
New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, a Democrat, told Hegseth that his quotes about women are terrible and harmful to morale. Quote, "You will have to change how you see women to do this job," she said. A senior defense official who wasn't authorized to talk with the media and spoke on the condition of anonymity said the standards for military service haven't been lowered and are based on each field and ability, not gender. Like I said, I can't speak to that. I haven't had time to deep dive into this. Hegseth was questioned about the issue by Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, an Iraq veteran and survivor of sexual assault. Hegseth reiterated an earlier promise to Ernst that he will hire a senior official to prioritize those cases in the military. Quote, "You will have to..." Oh, a senior defense official who was... Oh, hang on. Did I... Yeah, sorry, I duplicated that. Hegseth did not directly address the allegations of sexual misconduct and aggressively pushed back on Democrats who asked questions about it, calling it a coordinated smear campaign. "I'm not a perfect person, but redemption is real," Hegseth said. In 2017, a woman told police that Hegseth sexually assaulted her, according to a detailed investigative report recently made public. Hegseth has denied any wrongdoing and told police at the time that the encounter at a Republican women's event in California was consensual. He was not charged, but paid the woman a confidential settlement to head off a potential lawsuit.
As anybody who wanted a career would have fucking done. And if you look into that story, I mean, it's easy to just throw a couple headlines around, but if you look into that story, it's hard to not come down on Hegseth's side.
From what I've seen of it, there's certainly not enough there for you to say, oh, yeah, he did that. Sometimes with these stories, you're like, yeah, he did that. But, no, it doesn't. It certainly doesn't rise to the level that it should be an issue in his confirmation. I would agree with that. Asked by Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono, a Democrat, if he had entered into a settlement, Hegseth replied that he was falsely accused. He has said repeatedly that he was completely cleared. Hirono also asked him about reports...
Bill Clinton gave Paula Jones $800,000.
Yeah.
Well, and then we get George Stephanopoulos saying George Clinton has passed the character test. Where did he take that test? On Epstein Island?
Well, on that level, it goes without saying the Democrats still put Bill Clinton on stage. They still platform him. They still platform him. It's unquestioned that he's a serial molester. Nobody seriously denies that. And they would deny that he's a rapist. I don't think any reasonable person would. I believe Juanita Broderick.
Me too.
But even if you don't believe that, the fact that he's a serial assaulter of women is really beyond reasonable doubt at this point. But you keep putting him on stage at the DNC. So, they're self-righteous when they want to be. Hirono also asked him about reports of excessive drinking. Hegseth has told Republican senators in meetings over the last month that he will not drink on the job. Republicans I love that he didn't say I got my chip or anything. He's just like, not when I'm working. Republicans dismissed the allegations. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican Oklahoma, noted that Democratic senators had asked Hegseth about his drinking, saying, how many senators have showed up drunk to vote at Don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have, Mullen said to his colleagues. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. Did you see that story in Australia where the cameras caught the two MPs having sex like on the floor when everyone was gone?
No,
I didn't see
yeah, like late at night. This is a while ago. It's like a year ago. Okay, so hey, yeah, those are the bullshit issues, which not surprisingly is what they got into. Michael Tracy here rightly says, Pete Hegseth is an end times fanatic, a former professional Iraq war lobbyist, called for bombing North Korea and Iran, demanded secret weapons shipments to Ukraine, and the list goes on.
There you go.
But of course, Senate Dems focus on women in combat.
There you go.
And frivolous personal peccadilloes.
And that's why they're a failed fucking party.
It is because you want to ask real questions from a left perspective, or even just from a good government perspective. There's plenty there. As we're going to see.
You know, it's like I say in my act. It's like, you know, the part that's just proof right there that the parties agree on the worst things.
Of course. That's why they only want to litigate identity. The Republicans did it too. They kept wanting to talk about Jesus.
It's like it's like if your parents were divorced, but they both agreed you should go to military school.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So here's Hegseth. Now this, and as I said, this did come up, and we'll see a little clip where Zionist came up. The articles don't even mention it. You'd think that's kind of significant, especially now, right?
If you open up your Bible, God granted Abraham this land. The 12 tribes of Israel established the constitutional monarchy 1000 BC. King David was their second king and established Jerusalem as the capital. Jews were fighting foreign occupiers for centuries, ultimately maintaining a presence there. But the key aspect, and right now, Palestinians, Arabs, Muslims are trying to erase the Jewish ties to Jerusalem as we speak. I've been there multiple times. They're trying to make it look like Jews were never there. The most important aspect of this is the international community granted sovereignty to the Jews, to the Jewish state after World War II, and Israel has had to fight defensive war after defensive war, with every country coming to crush it ever since then, just to exist.
All right, so this guy
God told me I could fuck whoever I want, so I do. Got a problem with it? Read the Bible. Open up your Bible. Yeah.
If Jesus didn't want you drunk, why'd he keep turning the water into wine?
Yeah, right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be a little more concerned about that than unproven sexual allegations. And the idea
but they agree with them on that. That's the thing. They agree on all the horrible shit, which is why they ended up. It took them so long to impeach Donald Trump, because they had to find a crime that they also weren't complicit in.
Right.
They would never pause a shipment of fucking arms to Ukraine. That's what they impeached him on. The one thing that makes it that you like about Trump, turns out it's an impeachable offense.
Well, that's it. That's why they're going after Hegseth. It's the same thing with economics. It's the same thing across the board. They can only litigate identity. But it's the Republicans, too. The Republicans, their version of that is they kept wanting to talk about Jesus.
Right.
They kept wanting to talk about his relationship to Christ. How does that... Can you imagine if a Hindu went on the floor in a confirmation hearing and started going on about I really appreciate your devotion to Krishna and Krishna consciousness. Can you imagine if a bunch of senators conducted a confirmation hearing that way? Can you imagine if somebody was standing for confirmation who had screamed about the Islam taking over the world? He's screaming this insane biblical prophecy stuff, he should not even be nominated for defense secretary. He should not even be in that position. Not because of his views on DEI or he, likes to tie one on, because of his stated views on one of our most important foreign policy entanglements.
But, just as Greenwald had pointed out when he nominated Marco Rubio, that, these are people who Trump is going to direct to employ his foreign policy. They're going to have to serve Donald Trump. And as we've just witnessed in Israel-Palestine, his views trump everybody. It's including Huckabee, including Hegseth, including. So I don't see this. Why I find it repugnant. I don't find it disqualifying.
A lot of presidents have been very surprised when they become president at how much the people they appoint actually run the government and how shut out of the day-to-day decision-making they really are. It's an enormous bureaucracy. Who you appoint is policy. That is policy, because you can't micromanage an enormous federal bureaucracy.
Yeah, there's that saying, personnel.
You can't constantly be pulling leashes and putting out fires and trying to. If you appoint a bunch of people with these kind of fanatically rabid pro-Israel views, that is going to be reflected in the way the State Department is run on a day-to-day level, in the way the FBI does its job. You're only one person as the president. You can't micromanage all that. Now, will Trump maybe make some big moves like he did here that in some way contradict that? Sure. But the overall drift of the foreign policy is naturally going to be fanatically Zionist, because he put fanatical Zionists in every job, every single job.
Hey, are you overwhelmed with back taxes or unfiled returns? Well, get ready, because since COVID relief ended, the IRS hired 20,000 new enforcement agents, proposing millions of pay-up notices for 2025. If you're worried about IRS collection tactics, you don't have to face them alone. Tax Network USA is there to help. Tax Network USA is the nation's premier tax relief firm and has negotiated over $1 billion in tax relief for clients. Our services include penalty forgiveness, hardship programs, where you might not have to repay anything until your tax debt expires, and offer and compromise solutions for lump sum settlements. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, our experts are ready to assist you. Even if you're behind on taxes due to missing personal or business records, Tax Network USA can guide you through the process. Tax season is long over, and for the IRS, that means it's collection season. Contact Tax Network USA for personalized support. Handling IRS matters without professional help is risky. Protect your financial security with guidance from Tax Network USA. Our experts provide strategic advice on reducing or eliminating your tax debt. To schedule a complimentary consultation, call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Jimmy. Don't let the IRS aggressive tactics control your life. Empower yourself with Tax Network USA support and take charge of your financial future. I sound like Joe Biden. Your financial future. America can be summed up in one word. So visit tnusa.com today. Come see us on tour in Dallas, Texas, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only there.